Okay, good morning, and my name is Abby, and welcome to Meditation for Recovery. I would like to start out by saying that not only is meditation a very powerful tool for helping addicts in recovery, but it can also benefit you as well. It is an amazing self-care practice, and this is an introductory course and a good start for you to understand how this can really benefit you as well as those suffering from addiction. I strongly believe that in the future, meditation will be a widely accepted tool and practice in recovery and therapy. So today I'm going to cover the what, why, and how of meditation. I will talk about my personal experience as well as why I believe meditation is a very powerful tool in recovery. I will talk about some of the scientific studies and how it works. And of course, I want to say that science always trails behind truth and practice. We will do a demo together, and hopefully you will join me and not be multitasking, which you may be doing at your desk. And we'll practice for a few minutes so that you can truly understand what I'm really talking about and how it works. And until you do it, you may not quite get it. So I will also talk about some resources, and at the end we will have questions and answers. And I'm going to go ahead and put my video back on when we do the demo. For some reason it's popping off. Okay, so meditation has been around for about 5,000 years and originated in India, and also there's evidence that it was in China about 3,000 years ago as well. There are many different forms of meditation, which I'm going to talk about, and I do have one that I specifically recommend for addicts in recovery. I teach two forms of meditation, both of which I practice personally. And actually 3 of you count yoga. And yes, yoga is actually an ancient form of meditation. We have westernized yoga, and oftentimes people go to yoga for exercise, but it's actually an ancient form of movement meditation. And those of you who already practice yoga know the calming effects that it can have on you, and also the breath work that is involved. Yoga is an excellent meditation for our culture because you are moving, and we are a doing society. Our society tends to reward people for doing and accomplishing. So it works. It's a great practice. And if you haven't meditated before, it's a great practice to start with as well, especially if you enjoy exercise. There are many benefits. Tai Chi is also considered a form of movement meditation wherein you move and breathe slowly as well. Some people are put off by meditation because they think that it is a spiritual practice, but it doesn't have to be. And meditation is not a religion either. It was originally practiced, many thousands of years ago in other countries as a spiritual practice, but here in our country it is strictly for well-being and health reasons, and this is what I'm trying to present today as well. Guided imagery or guided visualization is another form of meditation. This method is used for relaxation and stress reduction. It's almost like a form of storytelling, so to speak. This technique it's often accompanied by relaxing music and someone taking you on a journey to a peaceful garden or a place, or even a journey for a special purpose. And it's used in hospitals for people who are having anxiety undergoing surgery or some kind of procedure. Guided imagery is also used in hypnosis. It's used in regression therapy. I use this technique for doing inner child work as well as use it in art therapy. You can also use the technique if you are feeling too anxious or too tired to meditate on your own, and it's just easier to pop in a CD and follow along, and this can provide great relaxation. It is also good for enhancing creativity. Mindfulness was popularized by John Kabat-Zinn. He focuses on breathing and the present moment. It is a form of self-transformation through self-observation. This technique Mindfulness is used in corporate settings. It's used in corporate retreats and schools. There's been a lot of advertising in magazines and on television about mindfulness meditation. Companies are starting to offer it as part of their wellness programs and even considering it in health benefits. There are a lot of centers around that offer this type of meditation, and a lot of times it's free. Mindfulness meditation is actually a form of insight meditation, or what is known as Vipassana meditation. Again, it has been westernized to fit our culture. When you focus on your breath and in the here and now without all the distractions, this technique brings you into the present moment, which I hope you're there right now. And when you are in the present moment, you are not in the next moment worrying about your to-do list. And typically an environment is created to keep you present without any distractions. Now, insight meditation was popularized by Jack Kornfield, and this is the meditation that I recommend for addicts. It is very similar to mindfulness, except the focus is not only on breathing but on body senses as well. It's a two-step process. It's a little more rigorous than mindfulness, but I'm going to demonstrate that in a little bit, and it's actually easy. But also, it's effective in changing your brain chemistry because it is a little more rigorous. There are many other techniques that you may have heard of, like Zen meditation or drumming or transcendental, but I firmly believe, and based on my own experience, that these are the meditations that can help most for addicts in recovery. I define meditation as exercise that trains your brain, exercise that trains your mind so you can change your relationship to your thoughts and consequently your reactions to your outer and inner environment. This change in thoughts and reactions results in physical, mental, and emotional healing and purification. And it is also changing your relationship to your body and how you feel. There is so much noise in the world today in our daily lives that keep us distracted and oftentimes in a state of chaos and fear. Meditation puts us in a calm, non-reactive state. Through meditation, we can create a connection between our bodies and our minds. Through meditation, we experience this connection directly by disciplined attention to our breathing. Okay, insight meditation. I like this meditation because it is simple and it keeps your mind focused. Again, we're going to try this out here in a few minutes. The first time I learned this particular technique, I did an intensive training for a few days, and right after the training, I lost 23 pounds. I quit smoking and drinking. Now, this was actually before I was in recovery and admitted that I needed to be in recovery. So I think it was interesting that I did the meditation retreat, and afterwards all my urges and cravings disappeared for 3 months without any effort at all. I was able to abstain from all of my addictions effortlessly. And I was a drinker for 30 years. So it was pretty amazing how this happened. But over time, of course, I stopped doing the daily meditation. After the training, I did it every morning, and then I stopped doing that, and then all my habits came back. And it wasn't really until a few years after that that I personally went into recovery as well as therapy, and I started meditating daily again, and I do to this day. And once I did, once I was in recovery and started doing the meditation, it became very easy for me, and I attribute the ease of it to my daily meditation practice. And when I say ease, I mean in regard to cravings and urges. I like to think of insight meditation as exercise that shapes your brain. This is my little acronym that I came up with. Your mind will become very sharp and in shape. So it's simple because all you have to do is breathe. And all you have to do is think about your breathing. However, It's hard because you're not in control of your mind. Your mind wanders over 40% of the time. Your mind will think about anything other than breathing. And trust me, I'll show you this when we practice. And focus can be very difficult. You will have to force yourself to think about the breathing because your mind will wander. Your mind thinks and follows thoughts constantly wherever they tend to go. It is hard because it is like going to the gym and exercising. It does not work unless you practice it. So this is the catch here. You do have to practice. The technique is simple, but doing it, again, is a whole another story. I mean, wouldn't it be easy if we all could just, exercise, eat right, and do what's healthy for us? But it is achievable, and it's free. I love the fact that it's free. You can do it on your own, and there's a lot of centers that offer it. It's a simple one-step process. You can choose to advance to the second step, which I'll show you, but you don't have to. Anybody can do it at any age, and it's the easiest process that you will ever learn. And if you practice and have a daily practice, the effects are everlasting. And from my own personal experience, it's amazing how it works and how when you meditate on a daily basis, you don't need to indulge yourself in bad habits. So some of the benefits. Medical research and data are showing that showing improved health among meditators. So this is becoming a known fact, and we'll get into that a little bit more later as well. It can reduce stress levels. It facilitates sleep, provides relaxation. It can reduce symptoms of depression and anxiety. It can increase your focus. And there are many physiological benefits to meditation, which is especially helpful for addiction. While insight meditation is a simple technique that focuses on the breath and bodily senses, it is very powerful for eradication of negative thoughts and the behavioral patterns. Essentially, through the focus on the breath and the senses, it's a systematic way. In a systematic way, the brain will recondition itself, and I will talk about that in a minute as well. So it can reduce negative reactions, controls impulses, eradicates addictions, and also it can help the person be less reactive to triggers that they may experience in recovery. And then a few things I don't have on here is it can help you lose weight and live longer as well. So I'm going to talk a minute about the brain function, and forgive me, I'm not a doctor or scientist, so this is not my area of expertise. But scientists have already determined that our brains have what is known as plasticity. Brain plasticity creates new structures or rewiring, which leads to brain learning. And you may already know that the brain is hardwired with instinctual behavior patterns that allows us to survive. For example, the flight and fight response is automatic. The brain has sets of instructions which are encoded in countless innate nerve cell activation patterns. These are combinations of brain cells that fire response to any given event, experience, and thought. And the brain has the ability to develop new patterns. This is the key. This is how we learn. This is also the key for meditation. New combinations of nerve cells and neurotransmitters, chemicals that transmit the messages, grow in response to new experience, such as meditation. Plasticity of the brain allows the brain to change and grow. For example, a stroke victim may lose blood flow to parts of the brain, which then becomes inactive or dies in a sense. So the stroke victim may become paralyzed. But through focus and repetitive movement, key phrase here, repetitive movement, the neurotransmitters can grow back and the brain may become activated again, healing the paralysis. So meditation is also a repetitive exercise that can change your brain chemistry and a part of the brain that affects impulse control. It is a natural, systematic way the brain reconditions or develops new combinations of neurotransmitters, and nerve cells for encoding new patterns of behavior. So, all that said, in layman's terms, you are training your brain through repetitive focus on the breath to learn how not to react to thoughts or physical urges. There's all this scientific language and studies, but I'm kind of more of a layman person, so I like to explain the brain as a meadow. And just think of a beautiful grassy meadow with trees, and you decide to take a walk through this meadow, and you create a path on the meadow, and then you walk on this path every day. And pretty soon the grass is all patted down, and you have this path. And your brain is like that. You create these pathways through your habits, your daily practice of walking, eating, drinking, whatever it is, and it just firmly creates that pathway. Now, through meditation, what you're doing is you're aware of that path, but you're focusing on your breath and your senses, and what you're starting to do is create a new path and a new road to walk down. So you no longer have to walk down that other path that you created that of all the negative, behaviors and patterns. Sorry. Trying to move this forward. Okay, so meditation for addicts. Addicts who are in recovery, especially addicts who are inpatient or in inpatient recovery, are typically they're in a safe container for 30 or 90 days. I don't know why that keeps popping off. Oh well, we'll just leave it off for now. Anyways, typically they're in a safe container for 30 or 90 days. With a lot of time to work towards their recovery, day in and day out. They also have a lot of time to think about how they're going to get high as soon as they get out, or not get high, how they're going to get through the day, how they're going to stay sober, obsessing on their emotions, their problems, their past addictions, their dramas, all the difficulties of getting sober. It can be very trying, nerve-wracking, emotional. There's a lot of thinking going on, a lot of obsessing. So meditation can actually give a reprieve to all of that thinking. And at the same time, it is chemically changing their brain by building the new pathways. So I would highly recommend in a recovery setting that meditation be set up twice daily, once in the morning and once in the evening for addicts in recovery. I also recommend a weekly evening group as well. Typically, addicts go to a 12-step program, and I think that having a weekly meditation group to go to can be very complementary to their recovery. Addicts in recovery, when they first start out, with meditation, they may be very agitated, and they probably won't want to do it, and it will be difficult at first. However, being in a group setting is very helpful as they are going through the experience together, and especially for younger addicts, studies show that adolescents do really well in the group environment. But of course, if you offer one-on-one, they can be guided and have more attention to help them stay focused in their meditation. What I like to do with beginners is I reward them at the end of their meditation by giving them a guided meditation. And this may sound kind of odd, but it's great because they're working really hard, and then I guide them through a little journey afterwards. It's like their little treat, and it does help in the beginning for beginning meditators to get a little break like that. But once they have practice and they are able to stay with insight meditation, it's not necessary to offer the reward of a guided meditation. You never want to start meditation when they're in detox, obviously. You need to wait until they can actually sit in a group or do yoga or watch a film, or so they're in a state where they can actually learn and practice meditation. Okay, so I don't know if any of you saw Anderson Cooper on 60 Minutes, December 14th. There was a segment, and I did give you the link to it. It's right here. I highly recommend you take a look at it. It is fantastic. It features Anderson Cooperson attending a meditation retreat with John Kabat-Zinn. You know, John Kabat-Zinn was the creator of the Center of Mindfulness and Meditation at the University of Massachusetts Medical School. He's also the one that came up with the mindfulness-based stress reduction training, MBSR, which is, you know, like I said, popularized and used in all the corporate settings. Also on the segment, Dr. Judson Brewer was featured on the show, and you can see his references here as well. I first came across him a few years ago when he was at Yale doing studies on meditation and smoking cessation. I would say is probably one of the leaders in proving that meditation can reduce addiction and relapse. And in his study at Yale on mindfulness training for smoking cessation, they found that if the subjects did two things, that they maintained attention on the individual's immediate experiences. This is what you do in meditation. And they also maintain an attitude of acceptance towards the experience, that these two complementary components, they hypothesize to not only bring habituated behaviors into consciousness, that the subjects could do this, but that they can be worked with effectively also to target the associative learning process with an emphasis on affect and craving as critical components of positive and negative reinforcement loops. So basically, if they sit in meditation with a negative effect, meaning they're having cravings and nicotine withdrawal, without habitually reacting to the unpleasant, to these states, that they would learn, or it would teach them how to recognize that the feelings and cravings that they're having are in their mind and their body rather than something that is happening to them. And for this reason, the study showed that it could actually help them quit smoking. And he's done like 20 or 30 studies. But another one that I recently found, it's not listed here, but it was at the University of Washington, and they did a study with people that were in substance abuse treatment programs, and they had random groups, and they found that the group that was in the that had meditation assigned to it, that they were better at preventing relapse. So there is a lot of research out there, but I just want to say from my personal experience, why wait for the scientific proof? I say do it now. So speaking of do it now, we're going to do a little demo, and this may be a little odd for a webinar, but if you can give yourself the gift of closing your door, not multitasking while you're at work or at your desk, and practice this for a minute, you really understand how powerful this technique is. So I'm going to ask all of you to, close your doors, sit in silence. I do not want you laying down. You need to be sitting up. And I'm going to take you through the beginning stages of the insight meditation. So I want everybody to do this. So you're going to close your eyes, and you're going to breathe through your nose. If you can breathe through your nose. If you can't, that's okay. You can breathe through your mouth, but it's preferred you breathe through your nose. Take a couple deep breaths through your nose. And what I want you to do is I want you to concentrate on your breath, your breathing, just going in and out. So I want you to concentrate only on your breath going in and out of your nose, and I want you to feel the little air coming out of your nostrils, and I want you to feel it between your nostrils and your upper lip, and you're only going to focus on this area in the breathing. Don't think about anything else but that breath. In and out, only focus on the breath. I don't want you, if you hear a noise, or something else going on outside, a feeling, a thought, if your mind wanders, you're going to only think about your breath and the air going in and out of your nostrils. Think only about the air and your breath. Bring your attention and focus to your breath, and only your breath. Let's do it for another 30 seconds. And only think of the breath. Okay. So for those of you who actually did this, and if you didn't, you can try it later, that's okay. You probably noticed how hard it is to just think about your breath and not something else. So this is where the difficulty comes in, is, you know, and where you can also see how your brain, how your thoughts are just constantly going here and there and there, and that to bring in the focus and only think about your breath, you're actually exercising your brain in a way. You're forcing it to do this focus. And this is the power of meditation, because it teaches you how to be in a state where you're not reacting, because you're able to focus, and you know, you're not taken out by every little thing that happens. Okay, let's move to the next. Okay, step 2, when you've mastered the breathing, you can move on to step 2. You don't have to. Let's see if I can get this back on. Sorry, this keeps popping up. So you don't, apologize. You don't have to move to the next part of the meditation, but you can after you've gotten the breathing down pat. You can focus on the breathing for at least 5 minutes. It's very hard to do, but once you can do that, you can move to phase 2. And in phase 2, it's one of the terms I've heard is sweeping, but I don't know if that's a technical term, but basically you're going to only concentrate on your different senses. So you're going to feel from head to toe your different, you know, you're going to feel your forehead, your eyelids, your nose, your mouth, your neck, your chest, your arms. You're just going to go down, and you're going to go up and down, up and down. And when you notice something, you can notice it if you have a thought or an itch, but you immediately want to come down to thinking and concentrating on your senses. And again, this is training you not to be reactive to what's going on to your body. You notice it, but you move on. Very powerful exercise. So that's the second step to it. Okay, so I'm going to move on to resources. My little video will pop off. I apologize because I'm not sure from where you're calling in, but I mostly have local California sources on here, but anybody can click on the UCLA Mindful Awareness Research Center site. I gave you the link here. They actually have practice meditations that they'll walk you through step by step. It's a wonderful resource that you can do on your own, or even as a group. You can do it on your computer. We have locally Dr. Puffy's a psychologist in Newport Beach. He has a Wednesday night free meditation that you can come at his office every week. It's wonderful. Sometimes cities have a park and recs classes that they offer. We just happen to have one where I live. Monday nights you can go, and sometimes the libraries will offer them. There's also, I put Dharma Punk's site on there. This is for at-risk youth who are you know, in recovery and who've had a really tough time, and it's a group of kids that get together and they meditate with the founder, and it's wonderful. They do kind of tend towards some of the Buddhist principles of living, but the actual practice and meditation is wonderful. Insight LA is an organization that provides meditation, insight meditation throughout different locations. And I mentioned another one. We have a Center for Living Peace that has meditation every Wednesday night. And of course, the Vipassana centers are nationwide in every state in this country. and you can read about that. And then another organization that provides insight meditation in Northern California, but really it's so available in so many different places. Okay, so I have a quick, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a science, and I do not recommend meditation as a sole recovery method. I think it should be in conjunction with, regular recovery program. And I just have this up here because legal reasons. Okay, so for your homework, I recommend, if you're going to take up meditation on your own for your self-care, that you do it the same time every day, either the morning or the evening. Try this again. Just want to see. No, it's not going to work. So, and you can start out by 5 minutes each day, and you want to work your way up to 30 minutes a day, which is a really decent and good practice, and it will change it can change your life. Now, to really help you with addiction, in terms of urges and cravings, you need to do it at least an hour a day for practice. This is what I recommend, and this is based on my personal experience. I do a weekend retreat every year. I do at least a one-day retreat a couple times a year, and then I try to do a 3-day retreat every year. This just kind of keeps your practice up, and also keeps you focused, so you can continue to do your practice. If you have any questions, I apologize again, my video won't stay up, but if you have any questions, you can email me. We're going to do questions and answers here in a minute, but if you would like me to come out and do a training at your site, if you have questions after this, want to call me or send me an email, you can do so. So I think Amber is going to take us into questions and answers now.
Yes, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to just type them in the questions chat box, and I will read them out loud for Abby to answer. First one we have here is 1 hour a day all at one time, or 2 30-minute times also effective?
I would recommend starting out to do 2 30 minutes is effective. But if you can do an hour, it's, in terms of recovery, it's going to be more effective if you can work your way up to an hour and do that all in one session. However, most people in recovery, they need to start out with 2 30-minute sessions. So I would do maybe 2 30-minute sessions for the first year. And then after that, if you're still meditating a year later, then try to do the hour. That's what I would recommend.
Okay. We got another question. Is the session being recorded, and can we get a copy of that as well? The answer to that is it is being recorded, and we will send out more information to access the recording and the PowerPoint after the session's over. Let's see. Just grab another one. Do you recommend any YouTube channels for guided meditation?
There are several out there, and I've seen some of them, but no, I'm not aware of any that I could actually recommend. But, search around and see what you like. Again, I would go to the UCLA site first, because they have actual practice audio meditations. So, sorry, not any particular one, but try them out. There's no hurt in trying out different meditations that are up on YouTube, especially for a beginner.
Okay. Next one, can you differentiate between symptoms and problems where therapy would be more useful versus meditation?
That's an interesting question. I think that the reason why I recommend meditation is because the way that it works is that when you have urges or cravings, you don't react to them because you don't need to. There's no, they're actually lessened. So it really helps with your physical being in terms of, you know, it's easy to say no, if that makes sense. So it really impacts you physically, and it also calms you down. Meditation it changes the blood flow to your brain, and it can actually put you in a state of calmness where you become less reactive and more relaxed. Therapy, I would say that you can't really compare the two. I would never stop doing the therapy is what I would say. Therapy is extremely important. It's a different kind of discipline. It's dealing more with your thoughts and your unconscious. So they can go hand in hand. I don't think one replaces the other.
Okay. Do different forms of meditation accomplish different outcomes?
Yes, they do, actually. For example, the insight mindfulness or Vipassana meditation, they're really good at eradicating physical desires and needs and in calming you down and things like that. But a guided meditation you can use it for therapy. It can take you to places in your consciousness or unconsciousness that you may not want to go. For example, in regression analysis, if you're having issues that are, buried way down deep in there that need to come to the surface to be healed, you can do this through a guided meditation. It's a little harder to do that through the others. You can as well, but they kind of serve different purposes in a way. So meditation ultimately, in the end of the day, probably results in the same thing. But for us beginning meditators, it takes years to see how they all end up at the same place. So when you're starting out, depending if you want to do some deep traumatic work, psychological work from past traumas, you probably want to do more guided type meditations as opposed to the other. Hopefully I answered that question. I'm sorry I'm rambling.
Okay. How many breaths per minute would you recommend?
You want to get into a state of natural breathing. So there's it just, sometimes when I meditate to get going, to get focused, I'll do like a heavy breath, just so I can feel it. And I might start out a little faster because I'm trying to calm down. I've been running around. But basically, you just want to get to a point where you're normal, relaxed breathing. There's no count. And again, you don't want to be counting. This is not mantra meditation where you're repeating a word after another. You're really just focusing on your breath going in and out.
Okay. Thinking about the benefits listed, how might meditation increase creativity? And if that was something you specifically wanted to achieve, is there a technique that that should be added?
Well, it's on my website, and I do teach inner sanctuary meditation, and this is a form of guided meditation. And what you're doing is, in that meditation, you're creating a temple in a way that you go into every day, where you can create beautiful things, art, gardens, where you're actually manifesting. And it is a different type of meditation that is for creativity and manifesting, and it's called inner sanctuary training. And there are other places actually throughout the United States that offer that as well. It's a guided meditation, and it works. Let's It's kind of hard to explain how it works, but you're actually manifesting within the meditation and creating. And it's amazing what will come to you in those meditations. It almost like in a dream, like when you're dreaming, sometimes things come to you in a dream, and they're very powerful and they have meaning. So it kind of works in that way. So inner sanctuary training is what I recommend for creativity.
And we'll go into one last one. Where are your classes held in Laguna?
It just depends. I have different locations, but typically in South Laguna, and sometimes I have classes in Irvine and Dana Point, but mostly in South Laguna Beach.
All right, that'll wrap up the question part of this presentation. For the participants looking to sign up for their CEU credits, please visit www.sovinstitute.com. Abbe McClenahan's presentation will be available to watch after 72 hours. You will receive an email with all of the information pertaining to this webinar and one free CE credit soon. Thank you for your participation. Feel free to write us at ceu@sovhealth.com. Thank you so much for attending our webinar today, and have a great afternoon.